Why do doctors seem so disappointed when you refuse to have a student in the room during your appointment? 1. About 3 weeks ago, I was scheduled to get Nexplanon inserted into my arm. My doctor, a wonderful man who knows what he's doing, asked me if I would consent to having a student perform the procedure. I decided it would probably be nice for the student to deal with me since I'm terrified of needles and knives. I accepted, and I hadn't seen my doctor this relieved before. So here's what happened. During the procedure, I walked into the student's office. Students get their own offices at the clinic where I go for checkups, and introduced myself. We started talking, and I explained that I am terrified of sharp objects like needles and knives. She asked if I wanted to see the Nexplanon syringe since it doesn't look like a typical syringe. We talked about it, and I kept telling her she was doing great during the procedure since I thought it was appropriate. Later, we talked about her studies and what it's like to be a student doctor. She told me she was grateful I allowed her to perform the procedure, since she had to complete a certain number before qualifying. So to answer your question, there just aren't that many people who consent to having a student attend their checkup or perform a procedure, which means students don't get as much experience in the field as they should. 2. Thank you for asking this question. It gives me an opportunity to spout off about a view I hold dear. Personally, I've never known a doctor to show outward disappointment at such a refusal, but I can completely understand their potential inner disappointment. They're in charge of teaching young medical students. What's the best way to teach? Through hands-on experience. If every patient refuses, then the doctor's hands are tied. It's one thing to read about different types of lumps in a medical book, but no words can compare to actually seeing or feeling them. Furthermore, yours might be the only opportunity a student will ever have to witness or explore a particular condition. That kind of opportunity is gold in education. Can it be awkward or embarrassing? Hell yes. Is it worth it? Also yes. You're helping a new generation of doctors learn their craft. I went for a breast exam once. I've been in pain for months. In walks a male doctor accompanied by an attractive male student who looked about 18, big innocent brown eyes like Bambi. The doctor asked my permission for the student to sit in. He quizzed the student on breast tissue and types of pain. Then came the exam. The doctor examined my breasts and very graciously asked if I'd be comfortable with the student having a go. Fill your boots, I said. Poor Bambi extended his shaky hands like a deer in headlights. Are you sure it's okay? He reconfirmed. Go for it, I replied. And there I was, flat on my back while a boy awkwardly massaged my breasts and his older uncle watched. Good times. It would be rare for me to stand in the way of training. Where young people are concerned, awkwardness is a small price to pay for helping them learn. 3. Be glad you were asked. I was 16 with a massive pelvic infection from a poorly placed IUD that the doctor ignored, even as I hemorrhaged for months. I was taken to a hospital and placed on 4 antibiotics. Around day 3, 2 doctors came in with a dozen male students to observe my pelvic exam. No asking. No warning. I still don't trust any doctor. 4. I don't think I've ever refused. I got over it when I had my hysterectomy. Post-surgery, I was in the hospital for a couple of days. The doctors brought groups of students and residents on their rounds. They all looked 25 and were good-looking, men and women alike. They all smiled, asked questions, and each one examined my incision site. They were fascinated by my urine output and inspected the bag closely. The first time I was embarrassed. After that, I stopped caring. On a different note, some people should not become doctors. I had a psych appointment once. The doctor had a med student with her. The doctor asked me to describe my mental state, which I did, for about 10 minutes. I noticed the student was on her phone the entire time. When I finished, she sighed and said, "There, I just cleaned up about 200 emails. WTF? How unprofessional can you get?" And no, I will not accept that she was multitasking. She was training to become a physician. Patients deserve undivided attention. 5. When I was 19, back in the mid-70s, I went to the ER of a Catholic teaching hospital with extreme abdominal pain. The attending doctor ran all sorts of tests, including a pelvic exam, and told me it wasn't my appendix, it was just cysts on my ovaries, and that it was normal. He left. About 10 minutes later, he returned with 5 or 6 students who needed pelvic exam experience. I was not asked. I was told this was going to happen. These male students lined up with gloved hands and took turns examining me. Some went back in a second time to observe details others had pointed out. I was in agony and constantly told to spread my legs wider and relax, which was hard considering how much pain I was in. I was finally taken to surgery, where my appendix burst as it was being removed. The exams were unnecessary.